Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is the Our Turf Football Podcast. We are back. We had our break. We had all kinds of fun weekends in Kansas City with, tornadoes and all kinds of fun stuff in May. But, it was a nice break and everyone had a minute to kind of regroup and get excited about football again. I have Kate. I have Sonia. We are so excited. So this week we are going to start with our division previews, right? We are going to look at each individual division. We're going to kind of go over what happened with them last year, the major changes that they've had in the off season, and kind of give our thoughts about who we think has improved the most, maybe who's going to take a step back. Now, keep this in mind, you guys. We are not giving you our predictions just yet. We saved that for the prediction show that is the Tuesday before the regular season starts. But it just kind of is a great way to kind of get a grasp on the division again and kind of get a grip on what has happened. I said we can only do this show with Sonia, of course, because it is her division. It is her favorite division. It is her Lions who kicked everybody's butt last year, right? It was so much fun. Sonia, how was your break from the podcast?
My break from the podcast was great. Pretty much just did work stuff, got a new job. Well, you all know I already got a new job, but just really adjusting to that and the schedule and stuff like that. So, but excited to be back and excited to talk NFC North, you guys. We're gonna have so much fun. We're gonna listen to some music, talk about the teams.
I'm excited. Like I was kind of like meh after the draft. I was a little laissez-faire. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was just kind of like blah, But Kate, my break, and now I think OTAs. I'm starting to get back in it again. Starting to get a little excited. How was your break?
Good. It's funny. In prepping for this week's show, I was looking at rosters and news and stuff. I'm like, oh, I forgot Jordan Love was taking over, and I forgot like just getting my brain back in the swing of football and remembering who was where.
Mm-hmm.
We spend so much time at the end of the year on all the playoffs teams,
right?
That aside from the Lions, not a lot of playoff love in this division. So I had to refresh myself. Kirk Cousins is gone. Aaron Rodgers has been gone. And now Justin Fields is gone. So there's like a whole bunch of new faces that we're going to see under center this year.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm sad that Lisa couldn't be here. Lisa couldn't be here because it is her mama's birthday. So happy birthday, Mama. I want to make sure we shoot her out a happy birthday because just love and adore her. But because this is quarterback central, this division. I think she's a little sad she's not gonna be here. But I want to go ahead and just look. So just a quick recap of the NFC North from last year. You had the Lions who went 12-5. You had the Packers who were 9-8. And then the Vikings and the Bears both had 7-10 records. I do not remember the Bears winning 7 games. I don't know if I just stopped paying attention to them or what, but I was writing this out. I was like, wait, 7 wins last year? And they still got rid of Justin. I was baffled. Sonia, am I crazy? I do not remember the Bears winning 7. Was it at the end? Like, I don't remember.
I think it was kind of towards the end, but if you guys are live and watching with us at home, right, neither do the Bears. Gonna need you to put on some Soul Man because we're talking about the Bears. I'm gonna do that here real quick. The Blues Brothers, Soul Man. Oh shoot, I turned it down. Anyways, there we go.
I can't hear it.
I can't hear it at all. She's trying to get a little. We'll just dance anyway.
We're going to be checking their monitors.
Anyway, I know. It's going to be
okay.
It's good.
I was really excited thinking about this show. And so I was like, I'm a Midwest girl. I'm here in the South, but I'm a Midwest girl at heart. I love this division. So, I was trying to think about what would make it fun. And then I was like, oh, we could play music. Dana loves music.
I love music.
Kate's in Cleveland. Hall of Fame rock and roll. Detroit, Motown. What? So yeah, music. Anyways, so yes, if you're listening to Soul Brothers or anything Chicago related, I applaud you. Let's talk about the Bears. The team I love to hate.
Yeah, let's talk about the Bears because I think the number one conversation being had around them is Caleb Williams the savior of the team? I have my thoughts. I have my opinions. But Sonia, I want to know what yours are first.
I have my thoughts. My thoughts are they got rid of their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. They brought in a couple different people. They brought in Shane Widrin. I think I said his name right, I don't know, to be the offensive coordinator.
Shane Waldron. He came from Seattle.
Yeah, Shane Waldron. I can't read my own writing today. So they brought in Shane Waldron to be the offensive coordinator. And so I think that may help Caleb, but I don't know. I feel like he has to have a good team around him and then a supportive team around him. And I think he's getting that a little bit. He's got DeAndre Swift that came over from the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Keenan Allen, who came over from the Chargers.
And I keep forgetting about that. I keep forgetting that he's in Chicago now. Yeah.
Refreshed my memory there. He's got Gerald Everett, another addition, tight end, came over, along with Cole Kmet. So, I mean, the talent is there. And I think that their coach has a lot of talent to work with, but can he guide the talent? And that's what I'm nervous about. And I don't want to see history repeat itself with Caleb Williams. I know I'm not supposed to like the Bears and it's fun to hate on them, but at the same time, I would hate to see his high hopes get crushed. Right. So I think he's got the talent, and I think he's got the talent to be able to work with those guys and to be able to overcome that type of thing. But he's going to be facing some pretty tough defenses in the NFC North, so I think that's where I get a little nervous. So that's my take on him.
You know, they also have Roma Dunze, is just a fantastic player. So that's another good addition. But these are rookies, right? And these are guys that need some guidance still. If you guys are watching on Twitter, come over to YouTube, join our live chat, because we love to have some interaction. But in our live chat, Camden, give me your thoughts on Shane Waldron. So anyway, so I think that what is going to be interesting is to see, like you said, they need to be coached. They need to be directed. They need to be moved. And you can't put all that pressure right on his shoulders. I know there's a lot of hype around Caleb Williams, Kate, and I understand, and I'm kind of more interested in Rome and see what he does there. I think that'll be good. But when you look at this, Sonia's right. There is some talent there. I just don't know if it can be pulled out by this head coach. It's a real question, huge question mark for me. And I would like to see, for the Bears fans, they succeed a little bit.
I agree, but I think Eberflus is the big question mark in this mess. I loved Roma Dunze when they took him. Mm-hmm. I thought they have an opportunity to really have a nice tandem. If he and Caleb can bond off the get, he's got a lot of skills at wide receiver. Their biggest problems last year were the inconsistency. I don't think they won 2 games in a row. They won 7, but they would lost 3, then they'd win 1, and then they'd lose a couple, then they'd win 1. There was no consistency in how they played on the field on either side of the ball. And that's, for me, that's coaching. That consistency, penalties, those kind of things are a coaching issue. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with this team now that he's got no excuses. He can't, literally. Their general manager said that they were sold on Justin Fields, and then Justin was gone, and they went all in at number 1 overall on someone that I'm not sure is mature enough to be the face of the franchise right off the bat, but it's all on him right now, and it's all going to be about coaching.
So just so you guys know, I'm right there with you, Camden. Camden says depends on if Waldron can learn from his mistakes in Seattle. Yeah. Let's hope that he does for the Bears fans. So, because there was a lot of mistakes there, and to put Shane Waldron with a brand new quarterback, it makes me a little nervous. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Shane. It's just I don't know how good of a coach he is. Interesting, I think, with the Bears team, though, it almost feels to a certain extent like they're due, right? They're due for some sort of turnaround. They're due to kind of come into their own a little bit. I just think, it's going to depend on injuries, because that has snake bit them so many years in a row. And then it's going to come down to whether or not Caleb can be the guy. And Kate and I were at the draft, and he was the first one picked and the last one in the interview room. And I kept thinking, oh my God, kid, you made us wait till 1:30 in the morning to come interview you. And that was great. But then he didn't really have much to say. I just wasn't impressed with the guy. Now, you know how I feel about quarterbacks. So, I mean, that's part of it. But at the same time, I hope the maturity level, and I hope he can handle the wrath of those fans and that media. If he does not do well, he's going to have to shoulder that and learn from that. And I just hope he can do it. But
for the locker room, his leadership and his ability to handle the locker room is going to be a key thing, because if he throws his teammates under the bus when the media and the fans come at him, that's not going to go well. And I get that same vibe that Chicago's like they're about due for something. But I will tell you, I felt that way about Jacksonville for very many years, and they got Trevor Lawrence. And while it has gotten better, the Jaguars still haven't got, like, I'm done. I'll give you a spoiler alert for our preview show. I will not be picking Jacksonville. I've given up on the I kept saying this is their year. I think the Bears will do better than 7 wins, but
maybe
8. I mean, I'm not.
You don't expect a huge jump. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right. I'll agree.
Yeah, I agree too. All right, so let's move on to the Vikings, who were also 7-10. Obviously, they had a little bit more surrounding them. There were injuries all over the place. It was just kind of a mess. And you got the feeling pretty quickly that, Kirk was on his way out. Now, Kirk Cousins kind of got screwed 6 ways to Sunday this offseason. I mean, let's just, really between, it's like, oh, you're the guy, we're going to give you millions of dollars. Oh, wait, but here's Michael Penix. So we're just going to wait and see. So we'll see what happens there. But I find it interesting that the Vikings are kind of coming around. They're looking at a long-term future. They have Sam Darnold. God love you, Sam. You just keep hanging around. So proud of you. But then they did get JJ McCarthy. Now, whether or not that was a reach or not, that's a huge debate. All of these quarterbacks were kind of a debate that way, right, this year. But I'm going to start with you, Kate. Looking at the Vikings, other than Kirk leaving, they just extended Justin Jefferson to a huge contract. Smart way to do football, because he really is going to be the key. But this team still has a lot of depth and talent to it.
They do, and it lives and dies. We're going to go quarterback with Sam Darnold. And I'm not a believer. I think JJ McCarthy is starting by week 8. I
think 6.
I don't think that Darnold's going to be able to take Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson and Brandon Powell and TJ Hawkinson, who I love. I thought Iowa just had to make tight ends. They've got a ton of talent, and that was never the issue. That wasn't why they wanted to get rid of Kirk Cousins. They just couldn't win those big high profile games, and they couldn't win in the playoffs. And I don't know that Sam Darnold was an upgrade from beige. Like, is he tan? What's a step below beige? I think Jay McCarthy will end up being a very good fit there, and I'm very interested to see how he does. And yes, I'm saying nice things about someone from Michigan, but he's no longer at Michigan, so it's allowed. Before my Buckeye fan friends start coming at me, I think it's one of the better landing spots for him. So, it's all going to be about quarterback play in that town, in that state. Is that town? In that state? In the Vikings locker room.
In the Viking, yeah.
It's interesting. So we have our friend John, who's in comments, and I think he's a Vikings fan. I don't know. Am I crazy to think that? I think it's possible. He is absolutely.
He's tobacco, right?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that he says that Dallas Turner may be the best player the Vikings got in this draft. That will be very fun. I think that their draft was not terrible, so it'll be interesting to see how they use that. But he also said this. Sam Darnold isn't that old. It just feels like he is. It really does. It feels like he has just been in the league forever. But again, I agree with you, Kate. I don't see him as a permanent starter. They're going to see what they have in JJ. And you know what? JJ might win it in preseason, and we'll have to see kind of what happens there. Sonia, when you look at the Vikings and being within your division, being a division rival, is this a team that you're worried about anymore right now?
Yeah, I've always been kind of worried about them. I'll tell you, this year I'm not as worried about them, because I still think they're going to kind of have to put things together. I mean, you look at last year when they had the number one quarterback, the number one receiver, and the number one rusher, and they couldn't really do too much with it in the end, right? So while I'm not like super, they do make me think about them. They do make me think that they could improve, and they have improved. I liked their draft. I like what they got. I liked Dallas Turner for sure. They went pretty heavy on the defense. I think they got a couple linemen in there as well, but I think that they are going to be able to rebuild and kind of revamp. They got Justin Jefferson, which was a key piece. And Aaron Jones is also going to be a heavy addition to that. So I think that they're going to be a tough out, to be quite honest. And I think they're going to be a legitimate rival. I worry about them a little bit more than the Bears, but yeah, I think that they have made some good moves, and yeah, they're going to improve.
Yeah. So Dennis
Flores does with that defense, because they were not really good at the pass rushing, gave up a lot of yards in the air last year. And he's made some comments in this offseason that they're going to do a much better job on pass rushing. And, they've got a couple nice edge rushers with, Jonathan Bullard and Blake Cashman, I think is his name. I'm remember. They need to improve on defense more than anything else to be in a better field position.
Absolutely. So Dennis in our comments is like, welcome to the era of the Lions dominating the NFC North. And right underneath of it, John's like, it's weird to hear someone talk about the Lions not worrying about anyone anymore. It is. It's a new world, right? It has been for the last couple of years. And probably the biggest oddity of all of this is the Green Bay Packers. Let's be honest. And so you look at Packers, they were 9-8 last year. Jordan Love looked like a starting quarterback. He looked like who he needed to be. And just a few years ago, we're like, these guys are done. They're cooked for 10 years. They got rid of Aaron Rodgers. They got nobody around them that can work, right? Like it was like a whole thing. And then boom, they're right back in the mix, getting second in the division. It was so impressive what they have done with the talent that they have there. And then, in my opinion, they had a really nice draft. They got a tackle, Jordan Morgan, was their first round pick at 25. But then they got Edgerrin Cooper, Javion Bullard, Marshawn Lloyd. Like there's so many other great players that they managed to pick up. They got a lot of players. And the fans, they're like, Aaron who at this point? It's fascinating. And then Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers, and it's not hard to forget him, right? But I think that it's that if you look at this division is probably the biggest change other than the Lions going, from last to first, which we've seen coming though over the last few years, but the Packers staying right in the middle of it, that's been one of the biggest surprises for me. Sonia, how do you feel about that?
They're actually the team that I'm kind of going to keep my eye on, because I think that they had a better season than expected. Jordan Love did much better than anybody would have thought. So yeah, and looking at their draft, they loaded up on defense. They literally loaded up on defense. They got like 2 offensive linemen, really good ones. To repair, David Bakhtiari, their longtime lineman, left. And so rebuilding the line and getting defense, yeah, I'm kind of nervous about them. I still think the Lions are better, but I got my eye on them for sure.
Absolutely. I'm looking at their depth chart right now. So you have Jordan Love and 2 guys nobody's ever heard of, Sean Clifford, and Michael Pratt. Thank you, boys. Thanks for playing. And then you have Josh Jacobs, AJ Dillon, Marshawn Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson. There was a comment in chat that says the question marks. John said that the question marks are at wide receiver, and I think that they have some talent there. So you have Christian Watson, you have Jaden Reed, Romeo Dubs, and then you have Bo Melton. You don't have depth, but I do think you have a little bit of some talent there. Luke Musgrave, but
talent.
Yeah. The funny thing about this is that they don't have the superstar, right? They don't have the Justin Jefferson. They don't have, AJ Brown. They don't have, you know, a DK Metcalf. They don't have the guy that stands out and is like, I'm the man, right? And so it's fascinating to me to see what they can do with that, because that actually could be harder for other teams if you don't have the one guy to completely focus on. Kate, what are your thoughts on the Packers? Do you expect a repeat of last year? Do you expect maybe there to be a few more growing pains, or maybe some teams have figured them out? How are you feeling about that?
So for me, it's all about the acquisition of Josh Jacobs. Last year, you know, you got rid of Aaron Jones, who had 650 some yards. Their third leading rusher was Jordan Love. Like, you're not Lamar Jackson, dude. You're not. Right. You don't want the offense to have your quarterback running that much. Josh Jacobs has got to come up with another 600 and some yards. AJ Dillon will get his, but they don't. They need 1,000-yard rusher. They need to control the ground game. They scored, I think, I checked 10 rushing TDs last year, something ridiculous. And then when you get rid of some of the people that they got rid of on, you know, Aaron Jones and that on the wide receiver room, you've got new receivers come in. They have talent, but who's going to pick up those yards? You lost a lot of yards with him leaving on both sides. And so that rushing game is going to be the key to giving Jordan Love the time he needs to get rid of the ball. If they don't think you can run, or if they're not going to really worry about him running, he's not going to go another 250 yards. And frankly, that's kind of sad that your third leading rusher is your quarterback.
I mean, look at the Bears last year with Justin Fields. I mean, yeah, it's not something that you ever want, right? Like that's not the plan. So Dennis in chat is like, Rodgers has a better season than Love. I'm calling it. Well, that wouldn't be surprising, Dennis, because he's Aaron Rodgers and has a crap ton of talent on the Jets. But B, that's only if he stays on the field.
I was going to say, you're assuming he plays more games than Love.
I don't know. I'm just going to dunk on Aaron Rodgers all season. Just be prepared for it, guys. It's going to happen. So, yeah, I think that it's interesting. I think that there are so many unknowns with the Packers, and yet you get this feeling that they're probably still going to be in the mix of all of it, right? Like you get that kind of feeling. I would wonder, they have great coaching, right? And so I think that that's a huge part of it too. I wonder how Packers fans are feeling. I wish we had a Packers fan that could tell. So if you're a Packers fan out there, I want you to comment under this video and tell me how you guys are feeling about going into the next season. Because, you know, Lisa says Jordan Love from the get, like she absolutely loved him from the beginning. So hopefully he'll stay around and do well for them. Excuse me. All right. So let's move on to the Lions. 12-5. I know, 12-5. They, you know, love to come in and bite the kneecaps. I love this team. Not only did they double down on Jared Goff, they like quadrupled down. The dude got paid. They extended their entire coaching staff. They extended their front office. They are like, this is the team. This is the formula to go in and start beating some people. So, and getting those championships, getting to the NFC championship, getting there where they need to be. Sonia, what was missing last year that you guys got so close, and how do you think they addressed it this year?
Defense. And I think their number one pick, Mr. Arnold, I think that pretty much addressed it.
Yes, it did. Oh, I love it.
He's a cute kid. I think cute in the fact that he's very, like, you know, just a fun guy to be around. And I think he embraces Detroit. I think the new players that they've gotten, I think they all are starting to kind of just come together and gel. I've seen clips of them at like press conferences after practice, and they're all having fun and messing around and asking everybody questions and stuff. So I think that this is going to be a good group. I think they really improved on their defense, and I'm thinking this is going to be a pretty fun team to watch. And I think they got it again this year, guys.
I'm looking at your depth chart. Oh, I forgot that they extended St. Brown too. Oh my God. And then there's Sam Laporta, who I loved.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Sonia, I'm so jealous of your team.
Much better than they were last year.
I mean, just this
tough breaks at the end of the season with some bad calls and some weird games. They were 12-5. That should be enough to win this division, and they've got enough talent to go deep in the playoffs. I don't know that they needed to make many changes, but the additions, like we love Terry, the additions they made only made them better.
Right. I just keep looking at this. There's a comment in chat from John. John says the Lions are a Goff injury away from a sub 500 team, though. I completely disagree. And you know why? Because of Hendon Hooker. We have no idea what that guy can do. The only reason he fell so far in the draft is because he had an injury and then they didn't need him last year. I think that if they needed to, he's going to be healthy. Yeah, he's a little older. Who cares? Let's get over the age thing, right? And so I think that they have enough talent. They do not have to have that superstar quarterback to carry them. Kate, is that crazy? Like, I just look at this list and I'm like, damn.
Hendon Hooker's the one that came from Tennessee, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was quarterback in Tennessee like the first time they beat Alabama or somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to remember college football 2 years ago. Loved that kid coming out. And you're right, he was injured and he didn't have to play.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think that line is solid enough that even if he had to come in for a game or two and then back out, he'll be fine. They could ease him in if they needed to. I'm not at all worried about it.
Interesting, though. You look
I like
look
the
at the defense.
Is there a kicker on their depth chart? Let me go look.
Is there a kicker on their depth chart? Yes.
Michael Badgley is their place kicker.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Don't take him in fantasy football. That's my advice for this year. Don't take Detroit's kicker because Dan would rather go for 2 than kick any day of the week.
I know. And that's why I like him so much. He's so my kind of coach. I just love him. I love a personality.
Yes.
Don't so much have that right now in Seattle. So anyway, we'll see. But here's the thing. Here is the thing about this division is that I think you have the Lions who are kind of the clear favorite at the top. There's no reason they shouldn't be. They have so much depth and so much going on. The 3 underneath there, you could kind of, do a little Yahtzee shaker and see how it comes out, right? I think that if everything that the Bears have done lands just right, let's say they get 3 more wins than last year, that's 10, right? And then you look at the Packers, let's say they regress just a smidge. Well, then that's an 8 win. They were all so close in that middle. I think that you really can't even look at it and say this one greatly improved, that one greatly improved. I think that they're still going to be kind of locked in a tight little race in the rest of that division. So when you look at it, and we take your Lions out of it, because I think we all agree that they should be the clear favorites. Do you think the Packers or the Vikings or the Bears did something that made them jump above the other 2?
I think the Packers did, and the fact that they took so many defensive players.
Okay.
And I think that that's going to come in handy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you've got some pretty heavy hitters on Detroit's team. You've got some you got some talented people in Chicago. And, I think that's going to be a big thing. And then, you got Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. So I think the Packers loading up on defense is smart. And I think they're kind of looking ahead.
Right? Because you have these powerhouses of offenses in that division. So John said, and I completely agree with him, the Vikings won 7 games with a quarterback carousel last season. They could be sneaky tough. Agreed. I absolutely think JJ McCarthy could come in there and just shock everybody. And that's what I'm saying about the rest of these 3 teams. Any one of them could easily move up. I don't know that they're quite to contending with the Lions. And, that's just all we can do is look at hindsight and that we don't know going forward, obviously. But that's exactly my point, John, is that it really could be any team. Kate, same question to you. Are any of the 3, have they done something that you think is going to make them jump the other 2?
Well, I agree with Sonia when we look at the Packers and what they've done on defense. They scored 3 defensive touchdowns all last season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they had like 15 or 17 takeaways. They lost that battle. They were the worst in the division in that battle. And that's where they focused. It wasn't sexy, but the draft picks, the guys they took were solid. And I think those improvements in defense were I don't think it's enough to put them in front of Detroit. It's definitely enough to keep them in second place in the division.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I like this division. I was lucky enough to join another podcast last night, and we'll be posting that on our turf when they post that later this week. But the conversation was about the toughest division. We were talking about the NFC West because it was a Seahawks podcast, and how the Seahawks, the NFC West used to be truly the toughest, toughest division in the league. And then now we're like, oh, but now you got to look at the Steelers and the Browns and, the Ravens and the Bengals and how good they are. This division used to be pretty tough, back in the day. I think that, but there's always been one standout. It was the Packers for years, right? And now it seems to be the Lions. But I really do think that the other three, they're just fighting to get there. And it's good. That's what you want to see, right? You don't want to see a team be like, meh, well, whatever happens, happens. Dallas. Don't get me started about Jerry. I can't wait to talk about that division. Oh, Jerry's getting anyway. So I think that's going to be this is going to be a fun division to watch and to watch them grow and develop, because I think that's what we're seeing a lot in the Packers and the Vikings and the Bears is a lot of growth, hopefully, out of that team. Any last thoughts on the NFC North, ladies?
It's going to be a great division, I think, this year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun to watch them.
I think it is going to be a lot of fun to watch. So, and to end it, we have John saying, you don't win the NFC North, you survive it. Yes, that is.
We'll see which quarterback survives in Minnesota.
I agree.
I think that's the only one that's got a job that's up for grabs.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I'm ready for this. All right, everyone. That's our show for this week. Next week, it is the NFC West. God help us all. My good friend Dan Veens is actually going to join us next week to talk about the NFC West, and we're going to break it down. And I'm sure that none of you guys will have any opinions on that at all. So we'll see you next week, Camden, for sure. Yeah. So we'll see everybody. See you next Tuesday right here on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. Good night, everybody.